Next, let's talk about average revenue. So before we even get too much into it, I want you to stop and think, how would you calculate average revenue? So whenever we calculated marginal cost, we took the total cost divided by output. Marginal revenue was equal to total revenue divided by output. When we talk about the averages, we took our total fixed cost divided by output to give us average fixed cost. Whenever we took total variable cost divided by output, gave us average variable cost. And whenever we took total cost divided by output, it gives us average total cost. So all of these equations, it may seem like I'm giving you all these different equations, but they're all relatively the same. All of the averages, we just divide by output. And then the name tells us what is in the numerator. So average variable cost, we take total variable cost divided by output. So if we take that same principle and apply it to average revenue, we should be able to come up with the equation where average revenue is equal to total revenue divided by output. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We do. Average revenue is the revenue per unit of output. Now, average revenue is basically, it's the price. So let's take the same scenario before, and you receive $540 per hour in revenue from producing 12 units per hour. So we take the average revenue is equal to the total revenue of 540 divided by the units, the number of the level of output, and we get 12 units there, and we divide 540 by 12, we get 45. If we took that same example and we took the $522 that we were receiving per hour divided by the 11.6 units per hour, we would still get 45. So it doesn't matter as long as basically the average revenue is going to be the price. So in the last slide we talked about marginal revenue, and we said that the marginal revenue is equal to the price in perfect competition. Well, the average revenue is equal to the price because basically what we're doing is we're taking the total revenue divided by the output to give us price, or to give us average revenue. And if we were to actually kind of rearrange this, we could actually take output times the average revenue to give us total revenue as well. And if average revenue is always equal to price, we should always get total revenue. So we're just talking about two sides of the same coin here. But basically, average revenue is the price. So if average revenue is equal to the price and marginal revenue is equal to the price, by default, marginal revenue needs to equal average revenue as well under perfectly competitive scenarios, under a perfectly competitive environment. So under perfect competition, we actually see that marginal revenue is equal to average revenue. So since you are a price taker and the price that you receive is considered to remain the same, or the price you receive is considered to remain the same, since a single person cannot change it. Since you're a price taker, and no single person, no single firm can change the price, nor are they big enough to actually influence the price, and everyone is a price taker, we consider that price to remain the same. So whenever we're looking at this, and whenever we're looking at that average revenue and that marginal revenue, we are going to assume a constant price. And you'll see that here in a little bit whenever we're talking about the graph. Yes, we know that commodity prices go up and down, but at a single specific point, a farmer or a rancher must make production decisions based off of a single specific price. So therefore, we consider that price to remain the same. So marginal revenue, average revenue curve is actually going to be a constant curve. It's going to be a flat curve at $45 in this particular example. Because we can't change it, that price is going to remain the same, which means it's going to be a flat or a level curve whenever we start actually putting it on the graph. Now that we've actually discussed marginal revenue and marginal cost, let's actually get into a little bit more of where the profit maximization point occurs. The profit maximization point will occur where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. If nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, drill that into your heads right now. Write it down on a sheet of paper. Stick it on a sticky note. Stick it over there by your mirror where you look at every single morning. Marginal revenue equals marginal cost. That is profit maximization point. That is where a producer is going to be producing at. Now, if you remember, marginal revenue is how much more will I make if I produce one more unit? How much more is my revenue going to increase by producing one more unit? Marginal cost says how much more will it cost me to produce one more unit? So what happens if marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost? So the amount that you will receive from producing one more unit is higher than the amount that it's going to cost you to produce one more unit. So if that's the case, if marginal revenue, MR, is greater than marginal cost, expansion of the variable inputs is profitable for the business. So think about it this way. For you to produce that 101st bushel of acre, or bushel per acre, for you to produce one more bushel per acre, let's say it costs you $3, but yet you can sell that bushel for $3.50. If you make more in revenue, so you make $3.50 in revenue, and you make more than it costs you to produce that one more good, $3, you're going to produce that additional good, right? So if you can produce that 101st bushel per acre, and you receive $3.50, but it only cost you $3, you're going to make 50 cents in profit. Why wouldn't you produce that 101st bushel per acre? So as long as marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, you're going to expand the variable inputs. You're going to produce that 101st bushel per acre because you're going to receive 50 cents in profit off of it. It doesn't make sense to keep producing at that 100th bushel of acre because you're going to be losing money, essentially. You could be making more, so why not make more? So a business prefers to make a higher profit to a lower profit. So you're going to produce at 101st because you'll make a higher profit. Now, on the other hand, if marginal revenue is less than marginal cost, so let's say that you go to produce the 105th bushel per acre, and it costs you $4 to produce that 105th bushel, but yet you only receive $3.50 off that one additional unit of output, or that one additional bushel. It costs you $4, but yet you only receive $3.50. You're losing out in 50 cents in profit off of producing that 105th bushel. So what are you going to do? Are you going to produce that 105th bushel? No, you're not. You're actually going to produce that 104th, or maybe that 103rd. You're going to start reducing your production. You're not going to produce at that 105th level of output because it's costing you more to produce than you are making. So you will actually reduce production. You're going to reduce production since it's costing you more than what you're receiving in revenue. So, a quick little snapshot here. If marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, if you receive more off that one additional unit than what it's costing you, what are you going to do? You're going to increase production. Well, why are you going to increase production? Because if you don't, you're leaving money on the table. You could increase your profit because you're receiving more than it's costing you to produce one more unit. Now, on the other hand, if marginal revenue is less than marginal cost, you're actually going to decrease production. And the reason why is because you're receiving less than what it's costing you to produce one more unit. So if marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, you're increasing production. If marginal revenue is less than marginal cost, you're going to decrease production. So where do you produce at then? You produce where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. You should always be producing where marginal revenue equals marginal cost under perfectly competitive environment and in the short run. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, in this chapter, we're talking about a perfectly competitive environment, and we're talking about the short run. If we were assuming both of these conditions, if we begin to relax those conditions, things change, and we're not getting into that just yet. So where should we produce at? Drill this into your head. A perfectly competitive market in the short run should always produce where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost.